Hello, and welcome to this short video introduction to the first year module Life on Earth. So this takes place over the autumn and the spring semester, and in it we cover the entirety of life as we know it. We do consider a little bit about whether there might be life on other planets, certainly as there's so much interesting work coming from astronomy at the moment, but it's largely, well, overwhelmingly going to be about the variety of life on Earth, both the things that we find under the microscope. So we look at what used to be called the prokaryotes, but it's now split into the bacteria and the archaea. And then we look at the protists, that vast group of organisms which include some of the tiniest things, bigger than bacteria, but still tiny, up until the giant kelp, the huge seaweeds that grow in marine environments. We'll look at mushrooms and the fungi, and the plants and the animals. So we look at the three domains of life, which are the bacteria on one hand, the archaea on the other, and that special group of archaea that branched off and became all the really complicated organisms, the eukaryotes. And we ask ourselves questions about how they are related to each other. Is a plant, such as this home oak, more closely related to a mushroom or to one of these magnificent moths? And sometimes the answers surprise you. In fact, mushrooms are more closely related to animals, so more closely related to the moth and me, than either of us are to some of the plants, even though some of the plants may seem to grow in strange shapes, much like the mushrooms. And we'll also consider some of the interesting things that we find around us. So, for instance, on this piece of bark are these lichens, and lichens are a hybrid organism where algae are living inside a fungus to provide a photosynthetic route for the fungus to be nourished, and the fungus provides protection for the algae that sustain it. The module itself consists of 48 lectures, although 2 of those are summaries at the end of the autumn semester and at the end of the spring semester. The module also includes 10 practicals. So there's 1 on bacteria, there are 2 on fungi, where you do some really interesting pharmaceutical tests on what sort of antibiotics are produced by fungi. There are 4 different animal practicals. And I need to say that it does involve dissection, but also to emphasize that none of the animals that we do dissect are killed for the purposes of the practical. They either come from the pet trade, from other surplus, or from the fishing industry. And lastly, there are 3 plant-based practicals, and one of those takes place outside. It's a bit of a treasure hunt using a dichotomous key, which you will produce in the first part of the practical to identify some of the plants that we found on the campus here at the university. The assessment of the module is 50% through the practicals, which are examined both with reference to what goes on inside the practical, so demonstrators sign off the sheets when you've been doing your observations and recording your drawings, but also through these multiple choice questions which come through Rogo. Those ones will be an open book. You can even do it with your lab partner. There are also 2 exams. There's one in January, which examines all the lectures and information that you've been assimilating from the first semester. That's worth 15%. And then at the end of the spring semester, so in the new term in May, there'll be the last exam, which is worth 35%. And though that will examine some of the information that you get during the first semester, it's largely biased towards the plant and the vertebrates topics, which you'll have covered more recently. So the aim of the module is to have an appreciation of the huge variety of living things that exist out on the planet that we share. The biochemical diversity that we find in the bacteria and the archaea. The vast importance of fungi in the maintenance of ecosystems. The huge debt we pay to those early eukaryotes that sequestered bacteria to form mitochondria. And in a certain few groups, they've captured blue-green algae to form all the photosynthetic organisms that are not bacteria. So the algae and the plants. We look at how the struggle to survive has tilted the balance in different ways to give the origins of the behaviours that you'll come across when you study the neurosciences and behavioural ecology. And all of this is underpinned by the sheer variety, the unity of life and its diversity. And that is the message of Life on Earth.